You mentioned girls. How do you deal with that?
Currently?
Or even through high school and college?
Yeah. I've always been someone who I was always very comfortable just speaking to the ladies. I never, funny enough, I never ever saw to manipulate or womanize or whatever have you.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, I found like a good kind of way of seeing the other and just wanting the best for the other. I think that played a huge role in vocation. So my dad early on, maybe in first grade or kindergarten, said, "You can't have any girlfriend till you get to high school or prom or whatever have you." And I thought, well, that's a long time from now. I'm not sure if I can keep up with that. Anyway, but so my idea early on, especially throughout elementary school, I didn't think of ever asking a girl out then, because if my dad found out, there was probably going to be some discipline coming, because it was probably hindering my ability to make good grades.
Yes.
And to get to the
concentrate on your studies.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
And then eventually make sure you get good enough grades so you can go to DeBakey High School, that you could go to med school afterwards. So I always had a more healthy kind of disposition and a great level of comfort, just kind of talking to the ladies and being friends.
Okay.
I did date a while throughout latter parts of high school, whatever have you, in college as well. But
was it a secret
always find
for your parents?
Probably. They always seem to find out a whole lot more than you think, more than you'd lead on. But one thing that I always found out is that my disposition to having a certain sense of like happily ever after, was always based in Christ. So I would like or seek the greatest intention for the other, but as it was me giving to you, like as Christ would give to the church. So those would always be the hinge points of every single relationship or girl that I liked or whatever have you. Like I could always identify, oh yeah, I definitely like her. I definitely would date her. Could definitely wifey her if need be. But it was always kind of sort of hindered. There was always a hinge point that said, you know what, Houston, like that's not even ideal to even pursue like a further relationship. So it would always kind of sort of be by the wayside or just
how serious was the most serious relationship?
Maybe a few months. I'd say about 9 months. I just knew that there was just no seriousness.
Okay.
There was just there was a great level of attraction. There was a great level of mutuality. But at the end of the day, I didn't see a future.
Okay.
Unfortunately, maybe that kind of helped because I was already having Peter just kind of like in the background. So I think that's a great hindrance as well. But just me not seeing a future, with this person, it was just me thinking, okay, you know what? I'm, we're in this, but I'm not really feeling this. This is not truly healthy.
Going back to your dad, because I love your dad.
Yeah,
I've never met him, but I love him.
You definitely would like him.
Did he like try to introduce girls to you and stuff after you dropped that bomb? Maybe he hasn't met the right girl.
No, he did not.
Really?
Actually, early on, he knew that there was no way that his decision or his influence or my mom's influence would make me like a person more or less. So that was never part of his game plan. More so the car than anything for some reason.
Oh, so he knew the car was the way to go.
He knew the car was the way to go. I guess a guy never really told him about any girl that I liked or didn't like or whatever have you. So, but he knew about cars. I couldn't hide the cars for sure. So, but no, I think my mom would like to. My mom definitely thought, okay, hey, how about this girl? Like in the Nigerian community. Oh, how about this girl? Or how about this girl? I'm like, no. No. Not really. Oh, but why? Can't tell you. That kind
but
of
your
thing.
Dad was like the car.
My dad, the car.
Did he bring home a brochure or something for that car that you wanted? You said it was a Mercedes.
I think now that this is all starting to come back, I think he wanted to. And he probably would have if I gave him that authority that time in April. But no, he didn't do that. He didn't go so far as
I'm just going to leave this here on the coffee table for you to look at.
Right here, just to look at the. I'm sure there was some times in which, I would also, there was a point in time when they used to send brochures, car dealerships, not dealerships, but actual manufacturers will send brochures of cars that you would kind of requested online.
Yes.
So I used to get Infinity brochures, whatever have you, because I like the G37 Coupe with that beautiful exhaust. Anyway, so I would get those brochures, and after a while, he would kind of sort of look at them and then wave them in my face a little bit, and then just might maybe put it down. And I thought, this is kind of futile.
Did he say something like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to afford this as a priest"?
Oh, yes. So that has not gone away. He continues to say that, because I still marvel at cars, like whenever I pass them. Oh, look at that! And Mercedes-Benz S-Class 500. So he would look and say, "You're not going to afford that anyway as a priest." And I'm thinking, I can still admire them. I don't have to obtain them in order to admire them. But
just like if you see a pretty woman, you can say, "Oh, she's very pretty. I like her hair."
Absolutely,
like that.
Absolutely, I like hair or nails or whatever have you.
That's a nice dress.
Precisely. And you mentioned it very well, because I think it represents like a healthy balance of where we all could be at in society. We don't have to obtain this or that or have a great sense of possession of this or that in order to really have an appreciation for it. It's kind of like the gift of wonder and awe. It's a healthy appropriation of God's gifts and our own response to those gifts.
So how do you deal with that wanting or enjoying these cars and, with the priesthood and all of that? Because you're taking a vow of simplicity, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Actually, I make promises of poverty, chastity, and obedience.
Poverty, chastity, and obedience. Okay, there we go. And how do you compromise that with your love of enjoying cars? Yeah,
I look at them and I think I'm a man of I guess efficiency sometimes. The only things that I really need in life is a mode of transportation.
Okay.
Maybe a reliable, good enough mode of transportation, and probably my cell phone. And that's kind of just about it. If I have those things, I'm good. I've definitely a roof over my head for sure. But if I don't need the most fancy thing, because even if I was not pursuing the priesthood, if I bought a Mercedes-Benz S500, I'd probably only drive it on Easter, and I'd wake up on Easter and think, you know what? Let's just keep you in the garage. We'll take something else. I don't want anything to just kind of sort of hinder me from being the best person that I can be. So if I was obsessed about not seeing anyone's paw prints after polishing the car, I call them paw prints, then, if I didn't have to worry about that, then that's good. So there's something to me about simplicity, reliability, and then really excess. Do I really need this or that? And the answer I always find myself is no. Even with girls, sometimes we as seminarians have our high points at low points. The key to understanding and to integration is that ain't yours. That ain't yours. What is yours is something that you find yourself most comfortable with. That is Jesus Christ our Lord, in loving him and also our response to him in our vocation. So if that is aside from our vocation, then it ain't yours. And at the end of the day, it's probably going to be loathsome to you. I'm not dealing with the same problems that you may have at home, and you are not dealing with the same problems that I have here, as an ordained minister. So, you have yours and I have mine.
Yes.
And quite frankly, what I have is a source of comfort and peace for me. So that's what kind of sort of keeps me grounded, especially with girls, cars, my own particular prayer life, in hopes of wanting to kind of grow and find a more suitable pattern of life for me. Like being rooted in that understanding helps me from a day-to-day basis.
So your admiration of cars, you still keep up with all of that?
I'm starting to not be as good.
Really?
Yeah, I can't tell those new McLarens apart almost at all. They all starting to look alike.
Did you ever think of going into like the engineering area before?
I would love to. I still would love to, but I just don't have the time. When I drive them, I'm thinking diagnostically, okay, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. If I do this a whole lot more, or when I'm going back and when I'm going home and I'm thinking, okay, this car is kind of off. Why is this? Oh, it's this. It's this. It's probably because you drove it like that, being the head honcho.
But I mean, it's instead of going into like towards the medical field for college, did you?
No, I never ever thought of that.
Even with your like for interest in cars?
No, I never did. I thought of racing them. I wanted to, I guess, a far overreaching maybe idea or fantasy was to be like an IndyCar driver.
Ooh.
Just racing around ovals and those kind of things.
You ever think about doing that just like on the weekends, just going to a test track or something like that? Maybe.
I don't mind that. I hope the Cardinal's okay with that, me doing that. And if he gives me the okay, I'll probably go ahead and do that.
How much freedom do you have to do things like that, like pursue hobbies and stuff?
It depends. It depends on how adventurous that hobby is. Usually priests get a certain time in a year off. It's usually a month. It can be a month. And then there's another time for retreats and stuff like that. So if you've saved enough, a whole lot, and you're able to just kind of go off and let's say I wanted to go to Germany and drive the Autobahn, I think I can do that kind of thing. If I have a friend that could invite me along to do those kind of adventures, then yeah, you can. But usually, every priest has their thing. So
okay.
Funny you mentioned that every priest has their thing, and they differ from time to time, from person to person, from season to season. Personally, I get a kick out of watching car videos. So just kind of maybe on twice a week, I might kind of watch car reviews and car videos, and I'm good on that.
You fall into a YouTube hole watching.
Absolutely. Doug DeMuro and those guys. Yeah.